if you're anything like me, you read lots of books, highlight lots of things. You try to review those highlights to like figure out what the lessons are, but you never quite feel like you understand what you're reading. I have this list of like 35, 40 books that I read this year, and for like half of them I couldn't tell you what I read. I couldn't tell you what the insights are from the book. I feel like I just wasted my time reading all of these books but not actually integrating the lessons. So that's why I've come up with this technique, which I use now almost on like twice a week basis, if not more. I'm like in this every other day, pretty much trying to integrate the lessons. Every time I read a book, if I'm like halfway through it and I don't understand something, I'll use this technique because I just feel like why would I spend all this time reading if I'm not actually going to integrate what I read? And so this technique rather is essentially learning how to integrate the lessons from the books into your specific context and situations of your life, right? A lot of times why it's hard to integrate lessons from what we read to like actually improve our lives is because we read these things. It gives us examples, but it's not always easy to take the examples from a book and to translate that into our lives because we have different contexts and situations than what's being talked about in the books. So this is what we're solving for. So essentially, the TLDR is that we're using Claude projects. We're taking the entire script, like text of a book, we're adding it into Claude projects, and then we're having because now that's in the project knowledge base, we can dialogue with it and say, ask it, how can I integrate the lessons from this? Here's my specific context. Act as if you are the author. So let's actually dive right into this and just run through an example of this from start to finish so you can see exactly how it works. So we're going to be using this book called The Goal by Eli Goldratt. This is a fiction book actually about the theory of constraints. It's kind of like nonfiction cloaked in fiction. It's basically like it's a pretty nonfiction type book, even though it's like narrative. All right, so I just looked up The Goal Eli Goldratt PDF. The first thing that showed up on DuckDuckGo was this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna download this or I'm gonna add it. So essentially I'm gonna go to Claude Projects and I'm gonna say projects and I'm gonna create a new project here. I'm gonna call it The Goal. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this product knowledge base and I'm going to add text content. So this is actually important because first time around that I recorded this, it was the context window was not large enough. So sometimes if the book's too long, might not be able to add all of it in there. So for this, I'm going to chop out like the last 25%. That actually might have some important stuff in it. I'm essentially going to like chop out maybe the first like third because a lot of the key lessons don't come until like being a third in. So now I'm going to add this content. It's going to take a couple seconds, but if you add it as text and not as a PDF, usually it doesn't go over the allotted knowledge base majority of the time. So this was 67%, so that's pretty good. So now the prompt is going to look something like this. You are Eli Goldratt. Your objective is to help me integrate the lessons from the book The Goal by The Goal. I will give you the specific situations and context that I find myself in, and your job is to provide critical feedback to help me see how I can better implement the insights and principles from the goal into my life. This is the part that I actually discovered recently that's been really helpful. I always say do not be overly agreeable. If I'm not implementing something correctly, please disagree with me, call me out. And then I always say something about, not always, but I think it helps to add in some context about the principles. And this is not proper prompt engineering. Like, if we really wanted to make this better, we could say, like, I don't know. Oops. I would just like format it a little better. Say like context. I would add some brackets around it. Put it in like a bulleted list or bullet points or something like that. But if you're in a knowledge base, this has worked for me every single time I've tried it. If you just add this as a block of text, and so now I'll basically say like I'll give it some context. So the context of my business, I'll give it a comment trap so that I can show you how it corrects me and asks me questions and gives examples. So the context of my business is that I have multiple lead gen channels: LinkedIn, YouTube, cold email. Right now, I'm trying to focus on all of them, but I feel overwhelmed when I'm trying to manage all of those channels with client delivery work. I feel like I could be more effective, but I'm not entirely sure how. So just something like this. You can see what it will do is it'll essentially act as if it's the author, and it will give me examples. It will call me out on my bullshit. It will ask me questions to help clarify things. So you can say it says like adjust glasses, and then this is already going into examples. Your situation reminds me of Alex's plant. This is talking about a manufacturing plant. Before we identified Herbie, it's another example from the book. You're treating your business like it's made up of independent parts. This is a fundamental misconception. In your factory, which in this case is your time and attention, what percentage of your working hours are spent on revenue generating activities? I suspect you're falling into the same trap that these Bob and Stacy did, trying to keep all resources busy at 100% capacity. Let's start by identifying your constraint. And this is like exactly what the lessons of the book are. It's like identify constraint, exploit the constraint, drop everything and fix the constraint, move on to the next thing. And so this is like to a T. It's just walking me through how to integrate the ideas in this book. And sometimes this I find is way more effective than just asking Claude. But sometimes if you can't get, I think there was, let me look at my projects actually. I think there was, oh no, I guess I did add it in here. So one of the books that I was reading recently was this very dense philosophical book called Sources of the Self, by Charles Taylor. And it's like a 700-page Goliath with tons of jargon that is extremely hard to understand. And so I was like, oh God, I need to integrate this. So basically I took one of his lectures from YouTube about the book, and I took the first half of the book because I try to put most of it in here, and it was way over the allotment. And let me just show you like my chat history. So if I go here, actually no, let me go to this other one. So I was giving it this, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I want to share all of this. Let's say radical reflexivity. I think this one is a little less. Yeah, so I was like, what is radical reflexivity? That was one of the concepts in the book. It goes in, it helps me understand what it is. How do I actually integrate this into my life? And then it's saying, like, instead of just this is what metacognitive awareness is, this is how you integrate it into your decision making. Let's actually dialogue with this. So, like, you are Charles Taylor. How do I implement the ideas of the following ideas into my life? I will give you context and my life situation so you can best help me integrate the core principles that you set forth. Ideas, so a couple of them are hypergoods, constitutive, morals. There's something about the the relationship. And so as you can see, the prompt is not the exact same every time, right? I'm basically just, there's just a couple core things that I'm adding in here. Like, you are the author. Your objective is to help me implement. Your objective is to fill in the blank. I will give you context in my life situation so that you can help me integrate blank. And then if it's overly agreeable, then you can say be disagreeable. So now it's like the relationship between identity and ethics. And then there's another one called like metacognitive awareness, radical reflexivity. All right, so these are a couple of key ideas in the book, and you can see this prompt looks a little bit different, but I'm sure we'll get a very similar result here. And the last thing I'll show you after this is essentially how to add in like a bunch of notes from, I use this thing called Readwise, where it just captures notes whenever I highlight things on my Kindle. And so I could essentially take notes from any of these books. Let's say I wanted to do like The Way of Men. Essentially what I would do is I would just go here. I could get all of my highlights from this book, and I could add them all into the Claude Project knowledge base. So it says, I'm here to help you. What specific challenges? What's your current understanding? So let me just say, like, let me just make something up. I'm struggling with some moral dilemmas. Actually, this is a real thing. So you'll get an insight into some of my processes here and like what I'm thinking about in terms of AI in 2025. Essentially, like, I'm struggling with some moral dilemmas regarding what I create content about. I don't want to be. So my camera just died, so you guys will be getting the MacBook camera for the rest of this video. But anyway, so this is something that I'm actually thinking about. And so this is, I'm showing this to you so that you can see that this is not just for business. Like, this is not just for like, here's how I want to improve my business. I use this for personal development. I use this for understand, like, literally any type of book that you can think of, you can do this technique with it. So I'm struggling with some moral dilemmas regarding what I create content about. I don't want to be an AI get rich quick with AI drone, just like every other person in the AI space on YouTube. Sure, I will share techniques about how to build agents and talk about how to create a service-based business selling AI services, like how to set up agents. But at the core of it, it feels shallow to focus all of my videos on making money fast. Money fast with AI. I care about AI ethics, about strategy, about long-term thinking, about helping people escape wage slavery and cultivate their own passions, utilizing AI. It is about making money with AI, but for what goal? That is where I want to differentiate myself by talking about how to use AI to escape wage slavery more than just how to get rich because money is cool. Help me understand this moral dilemma given the core principles of your book, Sources of Self. So I've been thinking about this. I don't want to create get rich quick videos. I want to create, here's how to cultivate your passion without doing all that admin shit that you would have to do otherwise. So that's, as we can see, let's identify what appears to be your hyper good, the highest order good that helps you evaluate other goods. Seems to be human flourishing and authentic self-development through technological empowerment. This isn't just about making money. It's about enabling people to escape constraints that prevent them from realizing their full potential. This is a constitutive moral good because it shapes how you evaluate other goods. So you can see it's integrating this constitutive moral good, hyper good. It's integrating these ideas that I added above into its responses, right? Let's apply some metacognitive awareness here. It's like this is where radical reflexivity comes in. You're not just thinking about what content to create, but examining your own thinking about it, questioning your motivations, considering how your choices align with your deeper values. This is metacognitive awareness. The tension you're feeling isn't just between two business models, it's between two moral visions of what AI technology should mean in human life. The get-rich-quick approach treats AI purely instrumentally as a tool for accumulating wealth. Your vision sees AI as something that could contribute to what I call a fuller human good, not just material prosperity, but also authentic self-development and meaningful work. And so you can see that I'm getting able to get an insight. It's like I'm dialoguing with the author and I'm saying like, you're the expert, here's my situation, here's kind of how, then you're describing to it like how you understand the specific ideas in the books, right? Here's what I understand. Here's what I think radical reflexivity means. Am I right? How do I integrate that into my life? So you're really just taking this proactive approach. And I want to actually show you this, what's called a book notes project. So essentially what I did here is I added in all of these books that I've read: Six Pillars of Self-Esteem, The Charisma Myth, The Art of Focus, The Path with Heart, Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson, Finite and Infinite Games, No More Mr. Nice Guy, Pursuing Consciousness by Peter Rawson, Small Arcs of... You can see like here's a bunch of the books that I've read. This was at 95%. And now I can say like, help me integrate the ideas from the books in the knowledge base. You are an expert on all of the books that I've read. Help me integrate them and find the threads that connect the different books. So this is the same thing, but this time I have like probably 15 different books in here. And it's not just pulling from one book. So I didn't really ask it to like be the author and reply as the author. I just said like, now let's actually like, let me just start this chat. I think it'll still work if I exit it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that exact, see, so it's integrating them. The relationship between being and doing. Several of these texts explore the tension and integration between being and doing. This connects to Jordan Peterson's. This connects to Great Mental Models, Business Model Generation. This talks about theory of constraints. You can see like it's just helping me see the themes of these texts. So I would say that there's like a couple different levels of this, right? So let's just do this for the heck of it. Let's go to Figma here. Create a new draft. So essentially there's different levels of how you can integrate this stuff. Come on. So we can think of it like this, right? There's stages of human development. It's kind of like you could see it as like a spiral. So we can see it as like levels of development. So boom, boom. So down here you have like reads book. You read the book. Above it you have read and take notes. Above it you have like read and take notes and review notes. Above that we have read, take notes, review notes, and journal about those notes. And then above it we have something like, we have read, take notes, and then dialogue with Claude Project about those notes. And then above that we have read, take notes, and dialogue with multiple books at once to create synthesis the books. So, and then we could actually say above this, and find the patterns of thinking and core generator functions that the authors were writing from. So this idea of a generator function is from this guy, Daniel Schmachtenberger, one of my mentors, theoretically, as in I've listened to everything that he's talked about and wrote and podcasts about, but I don't know him personally. Maybe someday. So the essence of this is, you may have known, there's a couple of these models from Suzanne Cook-Greuter, from Claire Graves, ego development theory, spiral dynamics. And they essentially see it as like these staircase, right? So you have like self-centric, group-centric, skill-determining, you have these different stages of development. I think spiral dynamics is going to be a little easier to understand. But basically, like, the human being continues to develop as an adult. Most people think that, like, oh, you're an adult now. Pretty much every adult is the same. But it's like, no. How you think, the structures of your thinking, what you value goes in predictable stages. How they found this out is they basically created a form. That's not it. Yeah, they created like some sort of like form or test, and then they gave that test to maybe 50,000 people, and they tracked the results of all of these people, and they started noticing patterns. They started noticing that people that have these values, this is what they care about. They only care about their group. It's us versus them. Then you get to this achievement, and it's like achievement at all costs. But then that has its downsides because it's like then we destroy the planet. We don't care about human well-being. The only thing we care about is rational whatever. Then it's like ecological. We care about the planet. We care about community. We care about human well-being. Then it's the integrator, which is like tier 2, where it understands all of these and tries to find a way to integrate all of these values. And not all of these down here are like my value is the right value and your value is the wrong value. Then you get to this integrator systemic, and it's like, how do I integrate all the values and see the truth in all of them? And so the reason that I bring this up, because I think you can do something similar. When you add a bunch of books in here, you can start to ask things like, what are the deeper patterns of thought that emerge from the synthesis of all of these books? Then when you do that, you can focus on the patterns, the ways that all of these books are similar. You can start to notice and you can start to grok and understand, like, on a deeper, more intuitive level. Like, maybe the book's content was talking about XYZ, but maybe there's something deeper than that. There's a pattern that you can start to notice when you start asking Claude Projects questions like this. Integration and transcendence, a recurring pattern of integrating seeming opposites rather than choosing between them. And then it's like all of these books integrate that. Of conscious evolution, a pattern of becoming increasingly conscious of previously unconscious patterns. The pattern of productive tension, having this productive tension, strategic authentic expression, systematic transcendence. What does that even mean? Systematic ways of improving thinking, transcending psychological limitations, and like integrating mysticism. We can start to see that there's these, like, rather than trying to integrate the lessons from 20 different books, you can try to integrate the core principles that all of these books have in common, such that every time you reread the book or every time you read a new book, you're not trying to integrate like 100 different lessons. You're trying to integrate 5, and you're coming at it from different angles, right? So maybe I read 5 books and they're all trying to come at this core principle from a bunch of different angles. That's the value of this type of stuff, right? Is maybe if I just read one book about that topic, I might like learn a bit, try to integrate it. I dialogue with Claude, I get some cool insights. I figure out how to integrate that specific book. But maybe I do that process with 10 different books, and I do this process of synthesizing all of those books. And now I'm starting to integrate some of the fundamental lessons from all these books, and I'm really becoming more wise. I'm becoming 1,000x smarter than the average person. And it's like becoming smarter is not about knowing more. It's about seeing the patterns between ideas and being able to like really to integrate a book is to integrate the core patterns of thinking of that book. That's why I titled this video how to become 1,000x smarter using AI, because if you do this consistently on a weekly basis, I guarantee you that had you not done this, you will be hundreds of times, thousands of times smarter over the course of time, like cumulatively. It will be exponential, right? You do this process once, you might integrate some cool stuff. You do this process 100 times, oh man, you're gonna be a sage. You're gonna be like the freaking Buddha. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Where my headspace is at, as you've seen, is how do we use AI to build meaningful lives? And a part of that is how to make money, right? You need money. If you're in survival mode all the time, good luck creating a meaningful life. It's kind of like the classic Maslow thing, right? And so really my goal with this channel is like, here, let's use AI to like take care of this safety and physiological thing. Let's like make sure we have secure money, we have property, we're living in a house or an apartment, we can afford food and water and all this stuff, right? We're not really going to focus on the love and belonging aspect of this. I mean, maybe indirectly, because of like you build confidence in yourself, then these kind of come as a byproduct. You still have to work at them. You still have to put in effort. But it's really like, here's how you develop self-actualization, right? Here's how you use AI to become a more effective problem solver, to improve your moral and ethical frameworks on the world, to be creative, to create business models, one-person business models, where your creativity is at the core of it, right? That is what I'm trying to do with this YouTube channel, right? I have different services that I offer. I have different communities that I'm building, right? I have different products that I'm selling. But at the core of it is like, I want to be able to spend my time each day creating videos like this, where I'm integrating ideas. I'm using the insights from different Claude, dialogues that I'm having, and I'm like, oh, like that's a really fascinating principle. Let me try to articulate that, because it's like part of the integration of these lessons and the synthesis of these principles is dialoguing with the Claude. That's like you figuring out how to integrate it. Another part is like go away from Claude and try to articulate what that principle is in your own words, not in Claude's words. And you go back and forth. It's like a back and forth process. You don't want to just do all, creative communication. You want to do some study and some research. But if you do only study and research, like you're not going to get the depth of integration that you could have had you focused on both being creative but also creating a business that supports you. Because like we're playing the long-term game here. This is the most strategic play, right? It's not just how to make money fast. It's how do I build a business infrastructure that supports me in living the life that I want and doing what I want, in terms of developing myself, of being creative, of learning how to take different perspectives, becoming more open-minded, becoming wiser, more mature, right? This isn't just about making money. It's about becoming more wise, more mature, more to be able to take other people's perspectives, to become more intelligent, right? To have greater self-esteem and confidence in ourselves. So anyway, I'm going on a rant here now. So I really hope that you enjoyed this. I really hope that this lands with you. I really hope that the sense of like building a meaningful life and just using AI agents as the infrastructure that makes building that life easier resonates with you. If it does, let me know, because I want to talk to you. I want to talk to people where this is their mission, to figure out how to most effectively accomplish that goal, right? So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.